Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on the Ellinesscrafts channel. My name is Lorraine. This channel is predominantly about knitting and crocheting projects that I'm working on and new bits and pieces that I have coming in. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for coming back. I do hope that returning viewers and new viewers will subscribe to the channel and enjoy this particular update. And let's get into it. I'm going to start off with the finished objects that I have completed. So the first thing is my wood pigeon socks, these here. I'm enjoying doing socks as quick projects because I can do these while I travel to and from work, or like as kind of in between projects, and they're pretty easy. They're pretty you don't have to think too much when you're doing socks, especially when you're doing afterthought heel socks, which is what these ones are. These ones are the afterthought heel. I'm trying to find my iPad here because then I can tell you whose pattern I followed. But yeah, they're afterthought heel socks using a stripy yarn. The yarn is a Regia yarn by, well, in the colourway Wood Pigeon, hence the name. I haven't generally done stripy socks before. I've done kind of pattern or gradient socks, but not stripy ones. So I wanted to try some stripy socks, and the pattern I use, if I can get it up here, is a Sock Surgeon's Afterthought Heel by Emily B. Miller. I will try and put that in on the screen there. And it's got the contrasting heel and toe. I don't think her one had contrasting. Yeah, her one doesn't have a contrasting heel and toe, it's just stripes. But my one, I wanted to do the contrasting heel and toe because I like the way it looked. And I thought about it after, I thought about the contrasting heel and toe after I'd already done the cuffs. So that's why the cuffs are not contrasting. But essentially the heel and toe are knitted the same way. It's the knit two together, knit one, or SSK knit one type decrease. Let me know if there's a name for that particular style of heel and toe, because I don't know if there is. So both of them are the same like that. The only difference, the only change or modification I made was that I like the toe to be, the contrast colour on the toe to be a bit longer than the average that is called for in the pattern. So I've done the contrast colour at 2 inches depth for the toe and for the heel, because I like it to be a bigger section that is contrasting. Most of the time it's usually just a small section of it, which is the decrease bit, so I kind of did some modifications on that to make sure that the contrasting colour was a bit bigger for my socks. So I'm pretty pleased with those. If you want to see details, check out my Ravelry. All the information will be on there. I will try and leave a link in the description box below. Next up is my sweater, which is the Edgartown Light Sweater by Alicia Plums on Ravelry. This was a paid for pattern. I mentioned it in my last video. I finished it off. I had a little bit of issue with the sleeves because I'm using a variated yarn. It's the Creative Wool Degradé yarn that I've used for this, and it has varying colours, so you should be able to see the gradient in colours. And when it got to the sleeve section, I wasn't sure how to make the two sleeves match. I don't have scales that actually weigh things as light as 50 grams and less, so that wasn't going to work for me. So what I ended up doing was just winding off a section of colour, winding off each colour section from the yarn, and then just splitting it in two basically, and doing each sleeve from each ball that I did. So I had to kind of improvise a bit with this one. I do like it, I like the neckline. The only thing about the neckline that was a little bit iffy for me was when I finished it, it didn't seem to be very tight. The neck seemed to sit around here. So it was very wide. So what I did, I changed the cast off. I think originally the pattern called for 2 rows of garter stitch here, and I've done about 5 or 6, and the cast off was just, I don't know, I don't think it actually mentioned which cast off to use, but I found that when I used the normal stretchy cast off or bind off, it was fine for the front bit, but when it came to the back of the neck, it made the neck really wide. So I used the ordinary, the normal pass one over the other cast off for the back, which tightened it, and then the stretchy bind off for the front, which made it sit nice and flat. So that's kind of pulled the neck in so that it's not all the way out here on my shoulders, and I'm really pleased with the way it fits. Obviously I wouldn't normally wear this top underneath this jumper because the gold bit is showing, and I tend to wear something that's more V-neck underneath it, or a lower round neck, but I wanted to show it off. It has some detailing on the sleeves here. I haven't blocked it, so that's why it looks a bit bunchy. It has this detailing here. I did make a mistake on here and not do enough rows, so one sleeve doesn't quite match the other, but I'm not really fussed about that. It's my first top down jumper, and the bottom bit is the same. The only thing I would change on this is this, the split hem. I don't like the split hem because it doesn't sit for me as it's supposed to. I guess if I blocked it, it would sit the way it's meant to, but I don't want to block it. So yeah, so that is that. So that's the Edgartown light sweater I've managed to finish off. I've also finished off the crocus top, which is this one here. This was a Norwegian pattern by Lenny Tosti. I translated it from Norwegian to English with the help of the Excuse Me group on Ravelry, and Google, and with Valeria. Valeria helped me with this one as well, so thank you, Valeria. She kind of agreed to do this with me, so we're working on this at the same time, and I've managed to finish mine already because I was just really keen to get it done. Since we were heading into spring, you wouldn't know it because we've got snow going on outside, but we're actually supposed to be heading into spring. I thought I wanted to get this done so that I could actually wear it. And so it's finished. So I've done this. It's one of those, it's another top down with a yoke. The back and front are the same. So they're not, you don't have a raised back. They're the same. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. The sleeve section I did have a little bit of difficulty with. I had the most difficulty with the lace section because I didn't read the instructions properly, and some of it was kind of lost in translation, so I had to keep thinking. This was a very big challenge for me with the lace because I really had to think about what the pattern was asking me to do and keep comparing the picture to what I was knitting up. So that was a bit tricky, but I got there in the end, and I really enjoyed doing this. I love the finished look. It just looks the way I want it to look. There are mistakes in it, don't get me wrong, there are mistakes in it, but I'm really pleased with how I've done. The sleeve, I made mistakes on this, so I stripped it back, I frogged it and redid it, and now I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out, and I think it is as it's meant to look. It's got like a garter sleeve here, and yeah, that's it. It has a border pattern at the bottom as well, and it's really nice. I really like it, and I've posted pictures of this on my Instagram account if you want to see it on, and also on my Ravelry, so check out those if you want to see information on that and pictures. What else have I done? I have finished a bankhead hat. I don't have the hat to show you, but I'll try and insert a picture somewhere on screen so you can see what that finished hat looks like. And that's this one by Susan Gourlay. Finished that off. I used a chunky yarn. The pattern actually calls for a worsted weight yarn, and I used chunky, and I used the medium measurement. I didn't even really think about it, the difference in the yarn. I just knitted to the pattern, although I did manage to get the rib section wrong because I didn't use the twisted rib. I used a normal single 1x1 rib, not realising that I'd done that until actually I was reading some of the projects on Ravelry, and some people mentioned the twisted rib, and then I thought, oh hang on, I didn't do twisted rib, I did single rib. Oops, don't read the pattern properly, that's what happens. So anyway, So I did that, finished the hat off, looks really nice, fits really nice, and I'm pleased with that, so pleased that I've decided to start another one. So this time I decided to do a double knit, a DK weight yarn hat, and because I have a lot of yarn left over from this project, and I thought I'd try and make the hat out of that and see if I can use that up. So I'm working on one on the bankhead hat for a DK project. So that is that. So those are my finished objects. Onto my whips. So for works in progress, as I mentioned, I have the bankhead hat, which is currently looking like this. It's made using the yarn I've got from this jumper. I had some left over because I had to buy 2 lots of this, and they're 800 yards each ball, so there was quite a lot left over, so I decided to see what it looks like in a hat form. It's quite loose fitting. I'm using size 4mm needles and the extra large size of the bankhead, and it has kind of, it seems to be a little bit loose on the rib section. Let's take this out and see if I can show you what it actually looks like at the moment. This is what it's looking like now. So I'm thinking, I like it to cover my ears. I'm thinking I might need to start doing my decreases soon, but I've only got that small section of decreases to do. I'd like it to be a little bit lower, but yeah, I think it's looking quite good. Just nearly time to do the decreases. So I want this section to be about 7 inches, I think, just so I've got that space to kind of pull it down if I want to. But yeah, so that is where I am with this. I really like it. It's quite a nice, easy knit. It's a very easy knit. It's a free pattern. And this time I've done the twisted rib. You can probably see there. I made a bit of a mistake with the my joining in the round down here, so I'll have to tidy that up afterwards. But that is what it looks like. I'm pretty pleased with that so far. I've got these Chalgu needles that I'm working them on, Chalgu lace, and they're really comfortable to use. And so yes, that is my first work in progress. I also have, where is it? Let me just get that. What have I done with it? Sorry about this. Let's get, there it is. My memory blanket. I've done a couple of squares on this since last time. These two, I think. This one, where I finished the crocus top, I now use some of the leftover yarn for that square, and the grey from this I've used one for this square, and this one was some leftover yarn from another project, a baby jumper or something. I started to use a yarn down here, but it turned out that yarn seemed to knit up to quite a chunky knit, so I've had to just take that off, and that's why the edge looks like that, because I did that and did this one and then thought, you know what, it's not the right weight for this blanket, so I took it off. So this is what my memory blanket looks like currently. I'm quite pleased with that so far. So I will keep working on this, and that is a pattern by, who's it by? I did mention this in the last video. Free pattern by Tiki. Patterns with Personality. A knitting pattern by Georgie Nicholson. There we go. That's the pattern I'm following for the memory blanket there. And I'm only using double knit yarn for this project. And that's a size 4 needle. I'm using my double pointed needles for that one, because it's just easier because they're such small squares. Next up, I haven't done any work on the ugly granny blanket, so there's no point in showing you that. It doesn't look any different to last time. I am working on these socks. Let's find them. They're in my woolly bag, sock bag. These are the Zauberball socks. This is what I'm calling them. I finished one, which looks like this. This is what the yarn looks like. And this is in the colour Charisma. Let's see if I can find the label. Here we go. Zauberball Crazy, and it's by Schoppel, and this is the colourway Charisma, and this is what it looks like. One ball, and so I've done one sock, and I'm just using the Winwick Mum's basic sock pattern, which I use all the time. I like it because I like the heel flap and gusset. I've realised that I prefer the heel flap and gusset style socks. They fit much better on my heel, and it's just I just prefer the fit to the knit to, what do you call it, to this kind of knit two together, knit one, SSK knit one style heel. I don't like that style heel as much as I like the heel flap and gusset, so that's what I'm going to stick with. Or the, I've yet to try the Fish Lips Kiss heel again, because that was a good fit too. Yeah, but I like this style heel, so I decided to do these socks, the Zabbable socks, out of this heel, with this heel, and it's going really well. I had to measure quite a few times. I think I made the cuff on a smaller size needle, so this is, the cuffs are 2mm needles, and the body of the sock is 2.25, I think, yeah, 2.25, and I'm using my Chow Goose, no, sorry, not Chow Goose, Higher Sharps. These things, they really stick your finger. I find that I've pricked myself so many times with these. I was working on this last night and I pricked my finger so many times with these, and I really have to concentrate when I'm using these because they're so sharp. I know that people mention how sharp the Higher Sharps actually are, and I thought I would just give them a chance anyway. And at first I thought they're quite similar to the Chow Goose knit red ones, but these are so sharp they stick my fingers, so I have to be very careful. Anyway, I digress. So I finished one sock. I'm on to sock number 2. If you want to see details of this pattern, check out my Ravelry. I will leave a link below for that. So that's my first work in progress. This should be finished shortly. Hoping to get that finished by the end of the week at least, because I'd like to wear these. Yeah, no real change to the pattern in this one, other than I think I copied someone else's pattern. Who was it? There's a pattern, Hermione's socks I think it's called, where she does garter stitch at the heel flap area, so it's easier to pick up the stitches when you're picking up stitches along there. If you do the garter stitch, I do 4 garter stitches here, 4 stitches in garter stitch on each side, and it makes picking up stitches so much easier and so much neater, and there's less holes. I think I've got less holes. Yeah, I can't even see the hole there on the join, so I'm really pleased with that. So yeah, that seems to be the best sock I've done so far for hiding the hole. You know when you join in the round and you get that hole, it seems to be the best one I've done for that. So I'm really pleased with that one. So that's one work in progress. Next one is this jumper. My friend wants a jumper for her baby boy, and it's a Serdar pattern. This is it here. I'm just going to do the jumper. Should be quite easy. The yarn I've chosen for this is King Cole Comfort Double Knitting. Very affordable. This is in the colour Stone Wash, and I've only got as far as this. I'm using straight needles for this, not circulars, because it's just a small baby jumper. So I've only got this far. I thought I was doing this watching TV, and I didn't want to miss anything, so I didn't want to start concentrating on shaping at this point, so I left it there until I've got some time to just actually focus on the shaping. So that's as far as I've got with this. Hopefully next time I'll have at least the 2 sides done and be able to show you that. So that is that. That's the baby jumper. Then I've got, what else do I have? Selbu mittens. This is something that I've been wanting to work on for a while. I've been watching Earth Tones Girl do these Selbu mittens, and I was really kind of tempted to do something like what she's done, and I found the Selbu mittens by Skein Deer Knits. This is the pattern. It's a paid for pattern, so I can't show you any more than this, but this is the pattern I'm working to, and it has a couple of charts in there, which is challenging for me because, like I said, I hadn't done charts until I started the Crocus top. That was the first time I'd worked to a chart. and that was tricky. And this one now has 2 charts to work from, and it's colour work, so it's a real challenge for me, but I think I'm doing really well. I posted pictures on my Instagram to share with you how I'm getting on, but this is the yarn I'm using. You're supposed to use a really nice plush expensive wool, but I'm using Stylecraft acrylic yarn because that's what I have, and this is Special DK yarn by Stylecraft. This is in the colour grape and this is the colour cream. So these are the 2 colours I'm using, and this is what my mitten looks like at the moment. This is mitten number 1. So I've done the waste yarn thing for the thumb. I've done this side, you can see the pattern there. I'm really pleased with it. It was a bit tight at first. I have made some mistakes, like you can see a mistake here quite easily, because it is my first colour work project with this amount of colour work on it, and on DPNs, and working to a chart, so that's tricky. You really have to concentrate. And this is the front, and I'm really pleased with how I'm getting on with this. I thought I'd have mistakes all over the place, but provided that I concentrate and I focus on the chart, I'm so pleased with how this is going. Let me put it on just to show you. It's quite a long cuff, I realised. I thought it was going to be a bit smaller than this in length. Maybe I should take that off. Let me take my watch off so I can show you. I'm really pleased with it though. I'm really pleased because I wanted it. The idea was to do this for my daughter, but who's 10. But once I tried it on, it actually feels like it's more for my hand than hers. So this is what it looks like. It's quite long. This is the cuff. Quite a long cuff section. This is meant to be this is the pattern for the cuff, and then this is the actual pattern for the mitten. So it's quite a long cuff section. But this, look at it, I'm so pleased with how this looks. I'm chuffed. I just hope that I can get the thumb right. That's the thing that's worrying me. This bit is not so tricky now because I know the pattern, this pattern here is easy enough. It's just plain sailing from here because I don't have to worry about the thumb. This bit is a little bit more tricky because I have to think about the different placement. And yeah, I've got it on DPNs. I'm thinking that next time round I may do it on circulars and do magic circle, because the DPNs are really tricky when you're trying to figure out where each colour goes and what number stitch you're on. Yeah, I find that I have to do a lot of thinking with the DPNs. I think I'd have to do a little bit less if I use magic circle. But anyway, this is the needles that I had, so this is what I'm working with. This is what it looks like. Hopefully I'll have this mitten finished shortly, and I'm really pleased with how it looks so far. What was it I wanted to say? I wanted to say something about these. The carrying the floats is a bit tricky because I'm not used to doing this amount of colour work. So some of the pink section here is a little bit more raised or more, and the cream a little bit more taut than the rest. But that's like, I don't know if you can see it. That's because of my floats. If you have any tips for colour work mittens, feel free to leave them in the comments section. That's what it looks like, and there's the edging. Look at that. I'm really pleased with these. I just want to get one finished so I can say, yay, I've done it. And yeah, this is my challenge project for the moment. So I'm really pleased with these. I'm going to be working on these shortly because I haven't done any work on these in a few days, and I'm having withdrawal symptoms. So yeah, so that's the Skein Knits Selbu mittens pattern. I think that is I think that's the last work in progress I've been doing. Yeah, Selby mittens, memory blanket, baby jumpers, Ball socks, that's it. I have been involved in a knit along, which is by Pen Hooks and Needles, and they have a knit along which is called the Ready Set Go knit along. That started in January, finishes at the end of March, and I've put a number of things on that thread and into that cowl, which is my first knit along. So yeah, hopefully I'll win something. If not, it's just been a lot of fun being involved in a knit along with lots of other people. I would like to get involved in a mitten along, but I want to see how I get on with these first before I kind of jump in and get involved properly and commit myself. I'm a little bit daunted by the speed that some people are able to do things and how neat their mittens are and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. What's next? Next on to what I have been buying. So I have been buying yarn and needles, and I bought a few stitch markers. The needles are Chowgu circulars. I bought 16-inch circulars to do hats, and you saw the hat. This is the, you've already seen the Chowgu circulars. This is the 4mm. The 5mm, I've put that away somewhere. Those are Chowgu, and those work really nicely. I like the Chowgu needles, I must say. I do like the feel of those. They slide really nicely. I got some stitch markers, which I have bought these before, and they're from Demelza's Delights, and these ones are called Brights, I think, and that's what they look like. Hopefully you can see that. Let me tilt the camera a bit so you can see. This is them. They're nice big ones. These are for 4mm needles upwards. They're quite, not 4mm upwards. They're up to a size 6mm needle, I think it goes, or 7. They're quite big, nice and bright. I love these. This is the second lot I bought from Demelza's Delights. She has some really nice stitch markers on her Etsy shop, so I would recommend you taking a look over there. Some yarn. I've been buying yarn. So I bought some yarn from Artist's Palette Yarns, and they originally come in hanks. They were in hanks of yarn, but I've wound it up, unwound it up. I've made it into a ball using my new ball winder, and this is what the yarn looks like. It's in the colour Pebbles. I like it because it's a nice kind of neutral, earthy tone for socks. This is 4-ply yarn, fingering weight that is, and really pleased with it. Not used it yet. I've put it into 2 different cakes so that I can do the 2 socks at the same time. So yes, I'm excited to start using these. It's very soft. I think it's Superwash Merino that I bought. The 2 that I bought were Superwash Merino with nylon, and yeah, 100 gram hank of yarn. So this is 100 grams for these 2 big balls. So yeah, so I'm really pleased with that. And this one I got from Felt Fusion. It's a Felt Fusion hand dyed yarn. I think I got this on Etsy. That one, the last one, was from Etsy as well. And that's their Etsy shop is Artist's Palette Yarns. And then this one is Felt Fusion hand dyed yarn, and this is in the colourway Alpine. It's merino and nylon, 50% merino. And that is what it says there. It is such a beautiful colourway. Look at this. Look, I couldn't resist this. It's like, wow. It just looked so nice. When I saw this on screen, I was like, wow, that is so pretty. I've got to have that. And I looked at it a few times and left it alone, and then thought, you know what? Went back again and had another look at the yarns on Etsy, and then my eyes set on this one again. So I thought, I'm going to get it, and this is it. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to make with it, but I just love looking at it. It's one of those ones that you just like looking at it. So that's that. And I can't wait to cake it up. I've been holding off because I wanted to show you what it looked like in its hank like that. And I've just recently got my Knit Pro ball winder. So this I bought on Etsy, and there's a plane going overhead. That sounded a bit odd. Anyway, I bought this on Etsy, and I'm really pleased with the way it's working so far. Like I said, I caked up these 2, so I'm pleased with that, and I will be caking up this one. Yeah, that is it. Those are my incoming items. What else do I have? Things I've been learning. I was learning about steeking. I watched a few videos on steeking because when I was working on this top I was thinking that I might have to steek the sleeves, but I couldn't find enough information on how to steek the sleeves, so I gave up. But I've started to think, well, actually that's not a bad idea. If I want to do some colour work, if I actually expand into my experience with colour work, then I could actually knit some jumpers or cardigans, and I may have to steek those. So I've been watching a few videos on YouTube on steeking just for future reference. Yeah, also I found out or discovered iCord. I've never actually used iCords, but they seem very interesting. It looks pretty easy to do. So at some point I'm going to try working some iCords. That's on my list of some things to do. Yeah, those are things that I've been thinking about and discovering, and a bit more colour work basically. Yeah, that's it. Those are the things that, so I've been learning about steeking, I've been learning about iCords this time round. Maybe I'll have more to tell you next time if I actually get round to trying those out, so we shall see. Watch this space. That's about it. What else can I tell you? I've been trying to keep up with other people's videos. I've been watching Pen Hooks and Needles channel, Legacy Knits channel, The Mindful Knitter, Yarn Baths, Girls in the Yarn Cafe. Who else have I watched? Mama in a Manse. I like watching her channel as well. That's all I've managed to keep up with so far. I've got a whole list on my pad of people to watch. But because the videos are quite long, it takes some time to get through them. So yeah, if you have any recommendations for people to watch to learn any new techniques, or to learn a little bit more about colour work and things like that, then let me know in the comment section. Do share your thoughts and experiences down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. But that is it from me for the time being. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give me some thumbs up, let me know. Subscribe if you haven't already and you'd like to see more of me. That would be really, really nice. And yeah, hopefully I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.